Welcome back, fans of all things Disney, and happy Easter to you and to your entire family. I know that this Easter is probably a bit different for you, just like it is for us, because we cannot be with our family, and we're very used to being with them for any number of different traditions that we happen to do. But this year is just different. It is what it is how we are looking at it. The dogs are still entertaining all of us, as you can hear the squeaky sounds go off in the background. But I thought, what better day than Easter, on this day when we might be feeling a little bit down because we can't be with our family members, to go ahead and just share with you kind of my spring pin board. I was thinking of something that might be kind of fun and entertaining for just a few minutes to put a little smile on people's faces, especially if you really like pins like I do. And this was the first thing that kind of came to mind. Now, I have been delayed in doing my spring pin board with so many other things going on. So this is actually going to be a pin board for April, May, and June. So because the pin board is April, May, and June, we're kind of branching into the summer months as well. So I have some really kind of fun things on there. I had a lot of fun putting this particular pin board together. That might not be the right word, is to say fun, but I tried to be as thoughtful as possible in terms of designing what I wanted to have on it. And just those of you that follow the channel, from here on out, I think I'm going to keep my pin boards right behind me in the display, just because I normally keep them over to the side, but I don't know, pins are making me smile through all of this, so maybe it'll be making you smile as well, and that might be something kind of fun for us. Before we jump in and I go ahead and show you that pin board, I did just want to remind everybody that the April giveaway is up and rolling. In order to enter into the drawing, all you need to do, here come the dogs. In order to enter into the drawing, you just need to be a subscriber. New subscribers get 3 entries in the month in which you subscribe. Existing subscribers, you always have 1 entry as our thanks for being an existing subscriber. So all of the box shaking is this little one here. This is my puppy Bella Rose. She's just about 3 months old at this point, and she's wrestling with her sister. So when the camera shakes, it's her knocking into it. So 3 entries for new subscribers. Existing subscribers, you always get 1 entry, and then you get additional entries for any comment that you place on any of the videos we uploaded over the month. And I know that you can't see this, but just to kind of give you a play-by-play over here, what made me chuckle, the puppy had gotten up on the couch that's in my office area, and my dog Iris launched herself like Supergirl at the sofa, literally flying through the air. It was kind of hysterical. So let's go ahead and take a look at the pins that I selected out of my collection to go ahead and mark spring 2020, which is going to be a spring I don't think any of us will soon forget. Okay, so the spring pin board, actually it encompasses April, May, and June, as I said, but we're going to go ahead and start over in this corner because of course it is Easter today, so I pulled any and all of the Easter pins that I had, and as you can tell, I don't have a ton of Easter pins, but I do have a few different Easter eggs, including one where you have Dale. This is coming from, I think it's Tokyo Disneyland. I think he's really holding more of like a dinosaur egg, but it kind of looked like an Easter egg, so I went ahead and I held on to that one. And then down here I have some more of the Easter eggs from the overseas parks. You can see all of the different characters there kind of surrounding my little Easter 2020 set that I ended up getting from Shop Disney. You've got Mickey, Minnie, and of course Stitch. And I left it on the backer card just because I thought that the backer card was adorable. Now, I'm going to come back up here to this one only because even though the time change was not in April, I am still feeling the effects of that time change. And truthfully, I would blame a lot of that on everything else that is going on. But this just reminded me of that. There's poor little Lilo trying to get Stitch out of bed. The puppy has found her metal bowl, so I'm going to go and take that from her. All All right, so coming back up to the top of the pin board here, I do have a couple of Mulan pins. One is, of course, Mushu from Mulan. And then this is one that I just opened in a pin pack the other day, and I just really love it because it's Mulan with Mushu on her shoulder. But with the opening of that film, of that movie, I figured that it would be very timely. And also there is a quote in that movie, I'm probably going to botch it, but it is one of my all-time favorites from any Disney movie. And it is, "The flower that blooms in adversity is the most beautiful of all." So truthfully, with all the adversity that we are going through right now, as you're hearing the chicken and the duck and everything squeak in the background, it seemed like it would be pretty timely. We're starting to come into summer months. So for me, when I think of summer months, I of course think of ice cream bars at Disney parks. So I went ahead and I added those onto the pin boards. And even in springtime, I like to think of that. Also with the hot air ballooning, it just seemed like it would be the perfect thing to add to my springtime pin board. And then I'm going to come down here because also in springtime, I tend to think of new birth, just like I think everybody does. And we have those little ducklings with the stitch pins that I actually just got. So those had to make an appearance on this little stitch with the two new little ducklings. I'm going to come back up to the top again. And because this pin board does cover April, my birthday is at the very tail end of April. So I wanted to go ahead and I wanted to pull my stitch birthday pin out. And I wanted to pull the happy birthday gang pin out. I love those two pins, and it's going to be an interesting birthday because of all the social distancing, but we'll get past it and then we'll celebrate in the best way, and that's of course with a trip to Disney somehow, sometime. I just got this one the other day from Shop Disney as well, and I just thought that it was kind of perfect for spring. You've got Minnie and Mickey with their balloons. Minnie, of course, showing restraint, is feet flat on the ground, and then there's Mickey, who of course has several balloons, and he is flying up. I just thought that the scene was adorable, and again, I kept it on the backer card because I thought the backer card was just too cute for words. You've got that little hidden Mickey there in the clouds. Now, the next few pieces, or actually I did miss one for April, and that is going to be this pin here. This is my Mickey Mouse Luke Skywalker pin, and the reason that that is on there is my very first trip with my family to Disney was in April, probably 12 years ago. We kind of marked it as a birthday trip for both me and for my son. And this was the very first pin that we ever bought. So this was the first one. It went to my son. And it was just kind of perfect to have on the pin board to help me to remember that first trip back in April many years ago. So now the next little batch of pins that I have on here are pins that are really intended to help to commemorate what we are all experiencing right now. And by we all, I do not mean to lump myself in with the first responders that are truly at the very front of all of this, but I did pull a few of my Baymax pins because of the courage and the selflessness that all of our nurses and medical professionals are showing through all of this. Yes, many people are still working, they are essential employees, but I don't know that any of us could put ourselves at the same level of risk of our first responders, whether they be nurses, paramedics, doctors, any of the medical professionals, people who are working in hospitals right now. They are literally walking into war zone-like conditions in many ways, especially in New York City. So thank you if you happen to be a nurse and watching this, nurse or doctor or medical professional or somebody that works in the healthcare industry and you are facing this every single day. I thought it only appropriate to go ahead with my Yoda, May the Force be with you, just because it is a strong message to be sending at this particular time. And one thing that I have been struck with is even though we cannot have our physical hugs or contact right now, just the emotional hugs that everybody seems to be giving to each other and the well wishes and the encouragement that so much of our country is giving to those that are really putting themselves in harm's way. My son actually works in a grocery store, goes to work every single day, and he is quite concerned that he might contract this, but he also knows he's got a responsibility. My husband is working in the automotive industry, which was considered essential, so he is interacting with the public every day. So they are both also concerned about their own health and what they might walk through the door, just like many of your families having the same types of experiences. So I included all of my hugs pins because so many of us would just love to grab a hold of somebody who's been considered an essential worker, whether they're in a hospital or they're in retail or grocery industry or whatever it might happen to be, and just give them a hug and say thank you for all of the sacrifice that they are making. And then I decided that I wanted to go ahead and think about what comes after all of this. So in June, we have our wedding anniversary. It's going to be, oh my goodness, it's going to be 23 years this year. So my husband and I have planned our very first Disney cruise. It's been a dream of mine for the last 10 years to go on a Disney cruise. So I have all of my Disney cruise pins here. I do not know if that cruise is going to sail as of right now. I called them yesterday, and yes, they are still sailing. So fingers crossed, and fingers crossed that we will both still be healthy enough to go. But I also added in a couple of little pin sets. This I'll be your Mickey, I'll be your Minnie, my husband purchased for me on a date night. And then this Mr. and Mrs. my husband purchased for me for Christmas, but it was kind of perfect for the anniversary celebration. I also added in the Up House just because it's one of my favorite pins. And truthfully, there is a piece of artwork at the Wonderground Gallery that is of the big bundle of balloons and the couple kind of holding on to that huge bundle of balloons in the shape of a heart. And that's one thing that I am hoping to get at some point for our home, just because it's kind of reminiscent of the relationship my husband and I have. And then, of course, I have my Minnie and my Mickey sliding sandals, only because I am still holding out hope for that awesome cruise to the Bahamas. All right, and then the remaining few pins here. The remaining few pins are what I am truly, truly looking forward to enjoying once I am able to get back into the parks. Once we all are able to get back into the parks, we can lift our social distancing even just a little bit, and we can start trying to get back to some semblance of normalcy. So right here in the center, I of course have Minnie and Mickey doing photos in front of the statue. It's one of my favorite things to do, is to get a picture in front of the castle and in front of that statue anytime we do go to the parks. And of course, knowing me, I will have some kind of pair of fabulous ears on. Some of my favorite rides are of course Space Mountain, and I absolutely love Buzz Lightyear's Buzz Lightyear Ranger Spin. I love that one. Can't wait to ride that Skyliner again, and of course you all know Stitch is one of my favorites, so there he is licking that glass like a fool. And then we have Haunted Mansion, which happens to be one of my husband's favorites. The Carousel is something I try to do almost every time we're there, along with Pirates of the Caribbean. That teacup ride, for some reason, it makes me sick now that I've gotten older, but I do love it, and I try to ride it every single time we're there. Of course, we have our snacks, our Mickey pretzels and candy apples and the ice cream bars and Dole Whip especially. And of course popcorn, because I'm sure I'm going to need some kind of new fabulous popcorn bucket, and I will be gorging on popcorn. And then last but certainly not least, my Pecos Bills pin, because I can guarantee you that I will be going to Pecos Bills and I will be grabbing those nachos. So hopefully sooner rather than later, but definitely when it is deemed to be safe. I certainly do not want to rush anything. I don't want anybody rushing anything, because the goal of all of this has been to make us safer, to try to prevent as much loss of life as possible. And again, thank you to every single person working in the healthcare field that has gone above and beyond to support families in this time, to support patients in this time. You truly, truly are amazing human beings. Thank you. So I hope you enjoyed the spring pin board that I put together. I did try to be as thoughtful as possible with the selections that I made and kind of the creation of the design as I went through. I am discovering how much I really do enjoy putting pin boards together, so truthfully I can imagine it being a seasonal thing. So my next one would of course be a summer one, but an abbreviated summer one, because of course I was delayed in getting the spring one put together. Hopefully on the summer one we will be back to as normal as we possibly can be, and I will have some fantastic new pins that I can share with everybody on the pin board that come directly from the parks. Maybe even, fingers crossed, my anniversary cruise. We'll have to see, but that'll be for down the road a few months. Thank you for coming along with me as I shared some of my favorite pins and pins that kind of made me think of this particular time that we are all living through, going through. And I do hope that all of you have a wonderful, wonderful Easter day with your immediate family. Until our next video. Bye-bye.